Today, we're diving into 5 incredibly powerful tools that are written right into the Indian Constitution. Think of them as your personal shield, designed specifically to protect your fundamental rights.
So let's start with a really direct question. Imagine your rights are being ignored, or even worse, actively violated. Do you just have to sit there and take it? Is there anything you can actually do to fight back? Well, the answer is a huge yes, and that power lies in what we call constitutional writs.
So here's our game plan. First, we'll talk about why rights even need a guardian in the first place. Then, we're going to break down each of the 5 writs, one by one. Habeas Corpus, Mandamus, Quo Warranto, and then the dynamic duo of the court system, Certiorari and Prohibition.
I mean, think about it. What's the point of having rights if there's no way to enforce them, right? The people who wrote the Constitution knew this. They understood that a right without a real remedy is, well, it's just a nice suggestion on a piece of paper. So they didn't just give us rights, they gave us a powerful way to guarantee them. And that guarantee comes from the power of writs.
So what exactly is a writ? You can think of it as a formal, written command from one of the highest courts in the land. The Supreme Court, using its power under Article 32, and the High Courts, under Article 226, can issue these orders to protect your fundamental rights whenever they're under threat. In fact, the right to go to the Supreme Court for this is a fundamental right in itself. That makes the court the ultimate protector of our freedoms.
Now, you might be wondering how this whole process works. Well, it's actually designed to be accessible. As you can see, it's not just the person who is wronged who can file. A public-spirited person can file on behalf of others, which is huge for public interest cases. And these petitions are filed against the state, which is a really broad term that covers all kinds of government bodies and authorities. And this is crucial, you can go straight to the top, directly to a high court or even the Supreme Court.
Okay, let's get into our first writ, and honestly, it's probably the most important safeguard we have for our personal liberty, habeas corpus.
The name itself sounds so serious, doesn't it? It's a Latin phrase, and it literally means to have the body of. It's a direct command from a court to an authority telling them to physically bring a person they've detained before the judge.
At its heart, this writ is our biggest defense against being locked up illegally. It doesn't matter if it's the police or even a private person holding someone without a good legal reason, a court can issue a writ of habeas corpus and demand that the detained person be brought to them.
And this is where its true power kicks in. Once the person is in court, the judge looks at why they were detained. The burden is on the one who did the detaining to prove it was legal. If the reason isn't good enough, if it's invalid, the court will order that person's immediate release. It's a fast and powerful check on any abuse of power.
All right, next up we have Mandamus. Now, if habeas corpus is about stopping an illegal action, Mandamus is all about forcing a necessary action to happen.
And again, the Latin name tells you everything you need to know. Mandamus translates to we command. It's the court issuing a direct order to a public body, basically telling them to do their job. This writ is used when a public official, a government department, or some other public body has a legal duty to do something, but they just haven't. Either they're refusing to do it or they just fail to act. Mandamus is the tool that gives them a legal push to get it done.
Let's make this real with an example. Say a student applies to a government college. They meet all the requirements, but they're denied admission for an unfair reason. Well, that's the college failing to perform its public duty. That student can go to court, and the court can issue a writ of mandamus commanding the college to admit them. It's a very direct way to keep our public institutions accountable.
Now for our third writ, Quo Warranto. This one is all about making sure that the people holding public office are actually supposed to be there. The name is basically just asking a question. By what warrant? Or, to put it another way, by what authority are you in this position? It's a direct challenge to someone's right to hold a public job. So the court uses Quo Warranto to investigate if a person's claim to a public office is legit. Essentially, it stops people from illegally taking over a public position. And it's important to remember this only applies to public offices created by law, not jobs in private companies.
So here's how that might look. Imagine someone is appointed to be a high court judge, but then it comes out that they don't actually have the required qualifications for the job. Any citizen can file a writ of Quo Warranto. If the court agrees, it can declare that position vacant and have that person removed.
Finally, let's talk about a pair of writs that are all about keeping the justice system itself in check. Certiorari and Prohibition. These are the tools that higher courts use to supervise lower courts.
The really big difference between these two is all about timing.
Prohibition, as the name suggests, means to stop. It's issued while a case is still going on to prevent a lower court from going too far. It's preventative. On the other hand, certiorari is used after a judgment has already been made. It's a way to cure a mistake by quashing or canceling a bad order.
Okay, this land dispute example makes it super clear. Imagine there's a property in District A, but for some reason the case about it gets filed in District B's court, which doesn't have the authority. If you catch this mistake while the case is happening, you can get a writ of prohibition to stop the whole thing in its tracks. But let's say you're too late, and the court in District B actually passes a judgment. Now, you need a different tool. You would ask for a writ of certiorari to have that wrong judgment completely thrown out.
So there you have it. This isn't just a list of confusing legal terms. It is a powerful toolkit that belongs to every single citizen. You've got habeas corpus to protect your freedom, Mandamus to make sure public bodies do their jobs, Quo Warranto to keep public office honest, and Prohibition and Certiorari to make sure justice is served correctly. These 5 writs are what transform our fundamental rights from just promises on paper into real enforceable powers. They are the machinery of justice that any one of us can start up. So the question I want to leave you with is this. Now that you know these tools exist, how does that change the way you see your own rights and your own power as a citizen?